wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel the heat with somebody. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me. And welcome to Whitney Houston on steroids. My name is Toby. And today we're going to talk about the dance. You know, I tell you, life is a dance. It can either be a wrestling match or a dance, but the more you live it and you kind of know the seasons and the cycles, you can kind of flow with it instead of go against it. Now, last week we left Jesus in the clouds. We've been talking about resurrection on this journey, and believe it or not, we finally have arrived. We started it empty and we're ending up on empty. Now, the first empty was trauma. It was all kinds of bad stuff, but this time it's an empty with a hope. That's what Jesus, when he came back from the grave, he gave them a new hope, a brand new hope. He didn't just leave them in their despair and in their darkness. When he came back, he got people were hung up. We've been talking about all that stuff, but he came back and told them of a hope, of a promise. And before Jesus left, Peter, the guy that was always in a hurry, that was always pressing ahead, you know, he's kind of the troublemaker. Everybody talks about poor Peter. He cut a guard's ear off. He denied Jesus. He said never. I mean, the guy was a mess, and he was always in a hurry. He was ready to make things happen. And so Jesus was about to take off, and Peter goes, oh, is this the time? Is this the time that all this is going to happen? You know, you've been up and down in the grave, on the cross. Is this when it's going to happen? And Jesus goes, hey, the time is up to the Father. That's the Father's business. What I want you to do is I want you to go and wait where I tell you to wait with the people that I want you to wait. So part of the dance, part of the rhythm is waiting. And I'm going to tell you something. Waiting, just to be honest with you, it sucks. It really does. And I'll tell you why, is because sometimes we're in a new day and we're running on an old rhythm, an old dance. And sometimes it is hard to sit and be still and just know that God's God. And just trust God and know that he's going to do it, especially when you're on empty. They were on empty. They went from empty to empty. And Peter, I'm sure he just like, seriously, we waited and now we got to wait some more. I don't know how many of y'all have kids out there, especially younger kids, but I have 4 of them. Currently single father of a 10-year-old daughter, full time. And I have 3 boys, and they're in their 20s now. So, but she, woo! You know what I'm talking about? Whenever you take them on a trip. Probably max out now, maybe 6 hours, but probably when she's about 6 or 7, it was a major ordeal because we travel in between Fort Worth and Amarillo. And when we're headed to Amarillo, honestly, the trip is about as exciting as watching paint dry. And so you really have to prep. It's like, okay, I got the Nintendo, got the phone, the Wi-Fi, the snacks, the Benadryl, you know what I'm talking about. It's like you fully do the parent pack preparation to keep them busy, hoping that at some point on the trip they do go unconscious so you can have some peace, right? And so inevitably you're on the trip, you're driving, going along with me, and all of a sudden you don't hear the Nintendo. And she's like, Dad, I'm bored. Not just bored. She does a 3-syllable bored, like, Dad, I'm bored. I mean, like the very breath of life goes out of her. You can feel it. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to help this child or she's going to die. That's how she is. And so it's like, well, what about your phone? Oh, the battery's dead. Well, I'm like, well, Charge it. She goes, well, I forgot my battery cable. And you're like, oh my gosh. Oh, Lord, help me. Here it comes. You know what I'm talking about. You know the statement that every parent has heard come out of their back seat. Are we there yet? Dad, how much longer? Dad, are we there yet? Of course, you're just maybe an hour into the trip and you know you've got 4 hours of every 5 minutes of your lovely child going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And so usually the first hour with me, it's like, oh, it's a few more minutes. Well, how many minutes is a few more minutes? Well, it's just a few minutes. Well, Dad, can you give me an exact number? Well, it's a few. It's not a whole lot. It's not a less, but we'll be there in a few minutes. And so something I kind of learned to do on these long trips was the windmills. Because in between Fort Worth and Amarillo, there are a lot of women. Actually, they're air turbines. They're the big white ones that generate electricity. And I'm like, well, we'll be getting close as soon as we get to the windmills. So sure enough, 30 minutes comes. Here comes the windmill. Oh, Dad, are we there yet? I'm like, oh, yeah, almost. Just a few more minutes. Now, in my mind, I knew exactly possibly how much time we would be there, but I had to give her something to put her little mind at peace and hope that somehow she would get sleepy and fall asleep. That's where the Benadryl comes in. But anyway, inevitably, at least, I don't know, 3 times an hour, Dad, are we there yet? Dad, are we there yet? But I knew when we would get there, and she just had to trust that I was driving. Inevitably, we got there. I think on this trip, they had presents waiting for her because it was a birthday and they'd saved up presents or Christmas. I can't remember. But she was extra excited because she wanted to get her gift. And so that's kind of how the disciples were. They were excited. Jesus had put hope in their heart. So when you're waiting, don't just wait in depression, wait in hope. You know, God is resetting your clock, and part of the anxiousness to get somewhere is that old timing and all that old stress and all that old drive and all that old pressure getting out of you, you pushing God, you wrestling with God, saying, God, I need it now. It's got to happen now. God, are we there yet? Father, Dad, are we there yet? He's like, just a few more minutes. Wait till the next windmill. Here it is. And he's teaching you the new rhythms of grace for the new season that you're walking. Trust me, God can wait you out. And he will until you reach that place of peace. But it really has been an emptying season. But this empty that you're in now, it's a season of hope because God's promise is about to break through for you. But you got to wait. Now, there was 40 days in between resurrection and the point they got in the upper room, but then they had to wait 10 more days. Not a lot, but they still had to wait. There was still a short trip before that promise. And next week, we're going to go in to that, waiting. So those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. God bless you, keep you, let his grace shine upon you, and we're going to get there. We are there. I tell you right now, we're at the next level. God bless you.